If you like what I do, consider joining my channel or donating to my coffee. Links in the description. Hey! It's the Metroidvania Guru, and welcome to my Turkey Day Tier List Roundup, 2025 edition. As a red-blooded American, I take Thanksgiving very seriously. It's my personal favorite holiday because food. And since it's a major holiday here in the States, that means there's probably going to be traveling in your near future. That's where this video comes in. I wanted to make a long-form, audio-friendly video you could listen to as you traveled because I know that's the kind of stuff I like when I'm trapped for extended periods of time in trains, planes, and automobiles. So what is this video exactly? I'm taking a look at each game on my tier list, one by one, and just talking about them. I'll tell you briefly what the game's about, give you my general take on the game, talk about what makes the game unique in this saturated Metroidvania market, and then finish with some constructive criticism, i.e. where I think the game needs improvement. Pretty simple stuff, but I'm doing it for over 150 games. I really wanted to make this into one giant video for you, but due to how large it's gonna be, I plan on releasing it as a series and then stitching it all together once every video has been released. I can't wait to see how huge this project gets. Anyway, let's get started, shall we? Today's video will focus on the A and S tier games. To all those celebrating, happy Thanksgiving and safe travels.
The A tier.
Animal Well. Deep underground, a labyrinth teems with strange animals and lots of hidden puzzles. There's not a whole lot I can say about Animal Well. This is a pretty famous game published by a pretty famous YouTuber. And yet, despite all that, I think the game is worth the hype. I love Animal Well so much. Its simple yet creepy aesthetic, its amazing atmosphere, all the secrets, finding the game's hidden eggs, and everything that revolves around their discovery is a blast. This is a non-combat MV, but with exploration this good and rewarding, you won't even miss it. When it comes to Animal Well's unique element, it's gotta be its layers. Animal Well is notorious for having secrets upon secrets, with a total of 4 layers last time I checked. Layer 1 is beating the game any percent, Layer 2 is beating the game 100% with all the eggs, and then layers 3 and 4 are for the clinically insane and require a whole lot of effort to figure out. I only did layers 1 and 2 and found that to be satisfying enough for my Metroidvania needs. My biggest criticism for Animal Well is its narrative. It's not that big of a deal, but I'd like to know what the heck is going on in this game. Does anything actually mean anything? Is it symbolic for something, or is it just nonsense? I'd like to think there's a decent story here and a meaning behind all the layers, but it just seems to be puzzles for puzzles' sake, and that's kinda lame. Alruna and the Necro-Industrialists. In a land where industry and necromancy collide, Alruna fights against a regime powered by death itself. Alruna is such a strange game, and I mean that as a compliment. It's a short game, made even shorter by all the secret shortcuts the dev built in, its dialogue is full of song lyrics, and the narrative is overt communist gobbledygook with the subtlety of a teenager writing comments on his favorite breadtuber's video. It's a bizarre trip with an amazing Game Boy Color aesthetic and single-screen design philosophy I love. I think this game is just so incredible. As for its unique elements, it's gotta be how badly the dev wants you to break this game. All the secret moves and hidden shortcuts will have you sequence breaking the heck out of this game. I remember beating it with both endings and then looking up what people were saying about it. I clicked on a speed run and was absolutely blown away by all the goofy crap you can get away with in this game. I implore you not to look up anything until after you play the game yourself. Just know that there is so much hidden from you in this game, and finding it will break the map wide open. My only criticism is the silly writing. It doesn't really add much to the game and comes off as adolescent, but I guess that's part of the game's charm. Night Castle. The paladin Enoch ventures into a gothic fortress transformed into another world, bound by a 30-day limit before darkness consumes all. With Sister Rebecca in the church's aid, His search for 4 missing knights uncovers divine relics, shifting dangers, and the malice that awakens at midnight. Night Castle surprised me with how much fun I had with it. It's an MV with a time limit. You have so many hours in a day to get things done, and you have 30 days to clear the game. But even with such constraints, the game's pretty flexible. I completed it on day 22 on my first run, so there's plenty of wiggle room. Overall, I found the combat, exploration, and progression highly satisfying. When it comes to its unique elements, I'm going to go with the game's progression because it leverages the time constraint to make a truly compelling system. Basically, you collect souls from defeated enemies, but you can only collect so many souls at a time. Moreover, you only have so much time in the day to collect souls. So this leads you to make decisions to best utilize your time. Do I use souls to upgrade my weapons and spells, or do I hoard all my souls to level up, which increases all my stats? But if I use every soul to level up, that means I have to advance time by 1 day. It's a neat management system that pays in dividends if you do it right. My biggest criticism for Night Castle is not being able to mark up the map. With a game that presses you with time, it's kind of a bummer I can't mark up important things to help me save time. Somber Echoes. Adrestia returns to her space colony to find it in shambles by her sister's own hands. Now, she must uncover the colony's hidden truth if she wishes to stop her sister for good. Somber Echoes might be my favorite 2.5D Metroidvania. I think it looks pretty good, and I find its exploration very rewarding. It has a bunch of endings, with the true ending being rewarded for thorough exploration. It's also cool that the game turns into a puzzle platformer halfway through. Typically, I'm not the biggest fan of puzzle platformer MVs, but the puzzles in Somber Echoes are so unique, so that's why I'm including it in the unique element portion. Midway through the game, you get this ability that turns you into a meteor that can destroy these special walls. Your job is to manipulate how you get your meteor form to that wall, and you do it by using the Ether Lantern, which is this game's double jump. When you use the lantern, you leave behind a circle of energy. These energy circles are how you change your meteor form's trajectory. That all sounds complicated, but it's really not, and it's a whole lot of fun trying to figure out these meteor puzzles. As for my criticism, originally I hated the fast travel, but that's been fixed and it works so much better now. I guess my only real criticism now is that I wish there was an aim assist for the spear. I loved using that spear, but I was trash at aiming, especially under pressure. Biogun. You are Beck, a vaccine sent by Doc X to battle the duper virus in the hope of creating an antibody to stop the virus from wiping out every dog on Earth. Biogun is such a charming little game I wish more people would give a chance. Its visuals are incredible, its twin-stick shooting is lots of fun, and its exploration and narrative are a blast. As for uniqueness, Biogun has an interesting way it reveals its map and fast travel. Each biome has synapses, or you can buy them, and if you place these synapses in a certain spot within a biome, you unlock that biome's map and all its fast travel points, even if you haven't discovered that fast travel point yet. It's kinda cool. My biggest criticism toward Biogun would be all its loose ends. There are characters and moments and areas that are just dropped, and it's really disappointing. I'm hoping these get addressed in some kind of DLC soon. Lone Fungus, Melody of Spores. Greencap, a brave little mushroom hero, embarks on a quest to fulfill his destiny and protect the mush kind from a mysterious and dangerous foe known as the Spirit Beast. Melody of Spores is such a departure from the first Lone Fungus, and this is a good thing. Although I liked Lone Fungus well enough, I much prefer the more traditional take of Melody. There's just something about a tighter, more relaxed map design that just hits different. I'm also not the biggest fan of super precise platforming in MVs, so it was nice to see Melody tone that down a few notches too. Though, Astral Gates still exist if you're into that sort of thing. Melody of Spores really doesn't bring anything new to the genre. I know that sounds like an insult, but I swear it's not. We don't need to flip the table on the genre with every single title. Sometimes it's nice to play something with a solid foundation, and Melody certainly has that. It's a fun, traditional MV. I'd say my criticism for Melody is its stingy economy. Activating and offering up money for save points and fast travel is brutal on your wallet. Islets. A young aspiring warrior sets out to restore his world by reconnecting floating islands scattered across the sky. Islets is Kyle Thompson's second Metroidvania and my favorite he's produced so far. With a Kyle Thompson game, you should expect quirky humor, a minimalist art style not unlike something you'd see from CalArts, and meditative music courtesy of his brother Eric. Islets brings a couple of unique things to the Metroidvania table. First is its progression system that works kinda like something out of a roguelike. You find an item, get 3 random choices, and upgrade based on the choices you get. It's kinda cool and exciting each time you find an upgrade item because you never know what you're gonna get. The other unique thing is how you have to connect floating islands. Once connected, new pathways become open, making this world dynamic with many unexpected moments of recontextualization. Now, I don't know if it's because I haven't played Islets in so long, but I cannot for the life of me find something to criticize this game on. I'm not saying it's perfect, and I can think of things that people would criticize the game for. I've heard people complain about the game's shorter length, how it doesn't really innovate the genre, how they don't like the humor or art, that they think the combat is imbalanced or too easy. But I personally don't agree with any of that. This game is excellent in almost every way for me. If I had to be nitpicky, I'd say I just wanted more. Give me a true path and true ending to find. But other than that, I can't think of too many things to criticize Islets on. The Weird Dream. Trapped within a surreal landscape that used to be Alpha City, a lone bunny wielding a chainsaw guitar must discover what happened to the city and all its inhabitants, including her family and friends. The Weird Dream is a very strange Metroidvania with a unique art style and storytelling approach. I can see how someone wouldn't want to pick up what the game's putting down, but I couldn't get enough of it. It's just all so very weird. I was absolutely fascinated with the setting and the story, and I loved fighting all the game's bosses, of which there are a ton. As for the game's unique element, I can't think of anything mechanically that it does that hasn't been seen in other MVs. Honestly, the thing I connected with the most in The Weird Dream was its unpolishedness and unorthodox narrative structure. There's just something offbeat about everything this game does, but not so offbeat that it doesn't feel like a traditional Metroidvania. You'll just have to try it yourself. Just know that it is a very anime in its narrative. My biggest criticism for this game is its notebook. As much as I liked the game's story, you won't understand a lot of it if you aren't collecting notebook entries and actually reading them. The game threw so many proper nouns at me without explaining any of them. It wasn't until I completed the game and read an entry in the notebook that I understood what was going on. This game's lore runs deep. Ghost Song. On a desolate moon, a mysterious armored wanderer awakens to explore its haunting depths in the hopes of repairing a group of survivors' spaceship. I love Ghost Song. Its atmosphere, environments, music, and sound design are among the best I've experienced in the genre, and the writing actually makes me angry because of how good it is. I fell in love with every character in this game, especially Blue, the main character. Her voice actor made the most endearing character ever, and the overall story is heartbreaking. This game is such a great experience. The most unique aspect of Ghost Song is probably its combat. Blue has an arm cannon that overheats with use, and overheating your gun makes your melee stronger. It's a cool dynamic that makes encounters strategic. The biggest criticism I hear from people is how they hate running back to camp after getting a ship piece. This never bothered me because Ghost Song was designed to pop up random events as you backtracked, and these runbacks facilitated you seeing these random events. So for me, I'd say the game's platforming is its biggest miss. Thankfully, platforming isn't a big part of the game, but man is it imprecise. Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom. When a dark spell transforms the people of Monster World into animals, a young hero named Jin sets out to restore them. This game's presentation is top shelf stuff. The hand-drawn visuals, the music, the animations. This game looks and feels like a high-end cartoon. There's so much to love in Cursed Kingdom, like character swapping and all the gear and set bonuses you can play with. As far as a unique element, Cursed Kingdom really doesn't bring much we haven't already seen. but it does do the on-the-fly character swapping very well. I'd say my biggest criticism for Cursed Kingdom is how slow it is to get good. You start with the really crappy pig transformation and then get the snake transformation, which is better, but still not great as neither transformation has access to my favorite part of the game, equipment. Once you unlock the frog form and can equip weapons and armor, the game gets so much better. But that can take about 2 hours, and that sucks. DragonLoop. In a world caught in endless cycles, a little girl and her flying companion find themselves trapped in a 5-day loop, and their only hope of breaking the cycle is to awaken a mighty dragon. What a surprise. DragonLoop took me for a loop. I didn't expect this game to be so good. Its combat is fast and fun, moving around is snappy and responsive, and the time loop gimmick is done so well. A definite dark horse of the genre. As you can imagine, the time loop mechanic is this game's most unique element. It basically turns the mere act of traveling this world into a puzzle. There are gates you can hit while traveling, and each time you hit a gate, you advance 1 day. After 5 days, you gotta start over. So if you want to see more of the map, you gotta figure out how to navigate these gates without exceeding your 5-gate limit. It sounds confusing, but it's actually pretty easy to understand thanks to the game's timeline map. Trust me, this whole aspect of the game is really cool. I'd say my biggest criticism for DragonLoop is its localization. I haven't played the game since launch, but the localization was pretty poor, leading to a bunch of confusing moments, and some text wasn't even translated out of Chinese, including an entire ending. Much has improved even while I was playing it at launch, so I'd expect these localization errors to be mitigated at this point. Unsighted. In a post-apocalyptic city, automatons face dwindling time before losing consciousness and becoming monsters. A lone android fights to preserve free will and uncover the truth behind humanity's fall. An excellent example of an overhead Metroidvania. Unsighted is fast-paced and incredibly non-linear, ripe for sequence breaking the heck out of it. It's such a fun world full of cool things to do, and its atmosphere and music are top-notch. Unsighted's unique element is its time limit. Every character, including yourself, has a timer, and if that timer expires, that character becomes unsighted, which means they turn into a monster. Most NPCs are merchants, so losing them means you're most likely locked out of a shop or a service, so keeping them around is pretty important. There are items you can find to increase people's time, and this also bleeds into a social system where people will like you more the more time you give them, often leading to awesome rewards. This time limit aspect scares off a lot of players, but you can turn the timers off if you want. I don't recommend it because timers are integral to the experience, but I'm not the boss of you. My biggest criticism for Unsighted is its platforming. It's not bad at all, but there are moments when you're trying to do certain sections that having an overhead perspective isn't your friend. Super Metroid. Bounty hunter Samus Aran returns to planet Zebes to recover a stolen Metroid. Her mission leads into hostile caverns where survival depends on uncovering hidden powers and defeating ancient threats. It's Super Metroid. What can I say? I love it, and you love it. Its atmosphere is immaculate. Samus and all her upgrades are just so freaking cool. The best part about Metroid games is how freaking godlike and unstoppable you feel in the end game, and that ending? Gaming Hall of Fame material. Because Super Metroid is really where the genre started to take off, it's tough to say what Super Metroid's most unique element is because it brought so much. But I think I'm going to give it to Super Metroid's map. It's basic by today's standards, but man was it revolutionary for its time. It wasn't highly detailed, but it was enough to help you not get lost. When it comes to criticism, I get a lot of crap for saying I hate how Samus controls in this game. She's floaty and turns awkwardly, but it's not that terrible. It's cool how you can control her jump by how long you press the button and can drop her by releasing the button. It's just not my favorite. Castlevania, Symphony of the Night. Alucard, son of Dracula, awakens to confront his father's castle's resurgence. Within its labyrinthine halls, he battles monsters and uncovers secrets that challenge his bloodline. I've beaten this game probably 30 times in my life. I love this game so freaking much. Everything Symphony did laid down the groundwork for the genre, and it's still playable to this day. There's just something about 2D pixel art from that era that feels timeless. And there are so many memorable moments and bosses. Truly an incredible game. It's tough to say what unique elements Symphony brought because it was so integral to the genre's creation. But if I had to choose its most impactful contribution to the genre, I'm gonna say it's multiple endings that are based on exploration. You all know how much I love when MVs give me a true ending that's rewarded through exploration, and I can't thank Symphony enough for giving me those holy glasses so I could reach the Upside Down Castle. I hate criticizing Symphony because it pioneered the genre, but the game is a bit too easy on the combat side of things, and its UI is kind of butt. Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. When the Prince of Persia is kidnapped, the warrior Sargon journeys to Mount Koth to rescue him. His pursuit through mystic landscapes and timeless dangers uncovers divine secrets, treacherous foes, and the fate of a kingdom bound by destiny. It's such a shame we'll probably never see a sequel to Lost Crown because it is so very good. I thought the combat was great, and the platforming is some of the best in the biz. This is easily the best MV we've gotten from the AAA space in a while. Lost Crown doesn't bring a whole lot new to the scene. It's really just a large company that saw what the indie scene was doing and said, yeah, we can do that too. And do that they did. But if I had to choose something the game did that was unique, it'd have to be some of its abilities. The move that lets you place an enemy in a pocket dimension and then throw them back out to help you fight is really cool. And the move where you place down a clone of yourself and then warp back to it is pretty nifty too. I'd say my biggest criticism is how boring the narrative is. It was predictable, they didn't utilize the messed up time perception aspect in any meaningful or interesting way, and the side quests weren't very rewarding, especially the game-spanning one that reveals a prophecy. You'd think completing that would have unlocked a new ending or something, but nope. Astalon, Tears of the Earth. In a dying world plagued by poison, 3 heroes ascend a mysterious tower under a pact with the Titan of Death. Their climb through cursed halls and ancient guardians uncovers sacrifice, destiny, and the fragile hope of saving humanity. I love this game so much. Its tone, its aesthetic, its exploration. Gosh, is its exploration so good. It does this thing where you can find colored keys that unlock their colored doors, but those keys can be used at any door in any biome, and this leads to a lot of hidden and optional stuff. It's just so much fun. As for the unique element, Astalon brings a lot to the table. The most obvious being its death mechanic. Every time you die, you start at the beginning of the dungeon, but shortcuts are intact, so that helps fight the tedium of backtracking. You can also enhance your characters when you die, which helps make the next run easier. Another really cool aspect of Astalon is its single room design. I don't think that's what it's called, but what I mean by single room design is that every room in Astalon is a square with no scaling. What you see is what you get, so you can take in an entire room at a glance, and that's actually a really cool design choice that makes for some snappy exploration. My biggest criticism with Astalon is its bosses. They're way too easy and kinda lame. I'm also not a fan of needing to 100% the map to get the true ending. That's just too video gamey for me. And having to swap characters at campfires can get obnoxious, but you eventually find an item so you can swap on the fly. Also, having to restart at the beginning every time you die sucks until you find the elevator key, but that's missable if I'm not mistaken. So you could go the entire game without the elevator fast travel, and that sounds awful. Hollow Knight, Silksong. Captured and taken to a distant kingdom, the Huntress Hornet must battle through unfamiliar lands. Her ascent through haunted citadels and silken ruins uncovers hidden rulers, deadly secrets, and the fate of a kingdom in peril. Silksong is a mixed bag for me. I have a lot of criticism, but I'll save that for the criticism section here in a minute. Generally, Silksong is a good game. Obviously, its presentation is killer, and moving around as Hornet is really what's going to disrupt the indie scene. She's so quick and responsive, and the game's platforming is excellent. Though, I'm not a fan of how you have to do your double jump before you can do your float. It's a weird design choice, but other than that, Hornet moves like a dream. Then there's the game's combat and difficulty. I'll get into my unfiltered take in a bit, but it's correct to say that these aspects have been divisive. I'll just say Silksong's skill floor is a little too high for a Metroidvania, but if you like its combat difficulty, then more power to you. As for bringing something new to the table, Silksong's crest system is pretty dang unique. I personally hate it, but it's kinda cool nonetheless. Crests act as your weapons and come with differing tool slots for each crest. It's a neat system that facilitates different builds and replayability. I've actually been dreading the criticism section for Silksong because I have so many things to say. So much that I don't even know if I like the game more than I hate it. That sounds odd, but there are so many people I've spoken with and have watched video essays from who share my sentiment. Silksong is a highly imperfect game with just as many misses as it has hits. I'd go as far to say that it's a bloated and imbalanced mess, and my tier placement may be too generous. But I'll focus on that another day. Let's start with combat. It's so imbalanced, it's almost like amateurs made it. I know that sounds like a hot take or like I'm trolling, but I promise I'm being genuine. Literally, if anyone besides Team Cherry made this game, the devs would have been mocked ruthlessly. 2 mask contact damage, way too much HP to compensate for tool usage, and if a great majority of your combat difficulty could be fixed simply by giving your character a diagonal up attack, you should either reevaluate your combat or just stop making so many freaking flying enemies that live in your blind spot. For a game that boasts that it has over 200 enemies, it really freaking sucks that 150 of them are the same flying enemies that throw crap. And that's really going to be my take on Silksong's difficulty in combat. It's not that it's too difficult, the game just keeps the player at a disadvantage most of the time. Yeah, there's tools to help, but those finite shards get real sparse real quick. And then you gotta farm, which is never fun, so it's great Silksong added that. Let's return to the keeping players at a disadvantage issue. You see this issue a lot because Team Cherry prefers to sacrifice player comfort and enjoyability for the sake of the narrative, which I can respect, but sometimes you gotta let players enjoy your game. The best example of this sacrifice is the dreaded Last Judge runback. Realistically, the runbacks in Silksong aren't that bad, but this runback is very bad. And it's bad for narrative reasons. Team Cherry wants you to lose all your beads here to reinforce the atmosphere of the following sections. They want you to get into the Citadel, observe its opulence, then fall into the underworks to experience the oppression of its workers. And the best way to feel that oppression is by ensuring you're beadless when you get there. It's excellent storytelling only the medium of video games could tell, but it's done by sacrificing player comfort and enjoyability. I'll let you decide if that's brilliant or pretentious. And this sacrifice for the sake of narrative extends to other aspects too, like how only certain bugs drop beads and crap like that. Personally, I find most of Team Cherry's decisions around how narrative affects mechanics to be self-indulgent, but I also understand that people absolutely love how meticulous Team Cherry is about these sort of things, so to each their own. I suppose it's hypocritical of me. I defend Ender Lily's sacrifice of making the final boss too easy for the narrative's sake, but I get frustrated when Team Cherry sacrifices enjoyability for the narrative's sake. But in my defense, Ender Lily's only has the one instance of sacrificing for the narrative, while Silksong's conceit spans the game's entire 60 hours. I suppose my last criticism on Silksong is its pacing. I absolutely hated the third act. Metroidvanias need to focus on exploration at all times because exploration is what makes a Metroidvania. Everything else, combat, platforming, progression, atmosphere, narrative, must complement exploration. Silksong's third act does not focus on exploration. I can hear people arguing that backtracking and finding new areas is exploration, and while that's true, the new areas you find in the third act are optional and sparse at best. We all know the third act is really just an excuse to throw in more tough bosses. And by this point in the game, most players are exhausted, and increasing basic enemy damage and HP and adding several more boss fights is the last thing most players want at this point. It's just obnoxious bloat. Voidwrought. The coming of the Red Star heralds a new age as the simulacrum emerges from its cocoon. Driven to collect Ichor, the blood of the gods, from the monstrosities who hoard it, their descent through collapsing realms uncovers ancient legacies and the fragile hope of salvation. I had so much fun with Voidwrought. I really think the game has excellent exploration. It's so open and rewarding. I spoke with a bunch of people at launch, and every single one of us had such differing experiences. It was like we each played a different game. When it comes to uniqueness, Voidwrought is another one of those games where it takes what others have done and just executes it well. That said, the unstable nuclei is very interesting. It's fun to use and makes many of the other abilities kinda pointless. I don't mean this pejoratively. I actually think it's kinda cool how broken unstable nuclei is, and its brokenness only works because the game's so open. You can get a lot of the abilities in this game out of order, so to speak, and so obtaining the unstable nuclei early fundamentally changes how you approach the rest of the game. This goes back to how many people experience the game differently. It's kinda rad. As for criticisms, I was gonna say the easy bosses, but apparently that's been fixed, so I guess I'll say obtaining the true ending because you have to find every single thing of a thing to unlock it, and the game only tells you generally where these things can be found, and that's a bit frustrating. Unless the game added something to help with this. If that's the case, then I'll say the story. It's vague, and I didn't really understand what was going on. Toziuha Knight, Order of the Alchemists. A young alchemist named Xandria must work to take down her former tormentor and save the city from his sinister plot. Toziuha Knight is an incredibly difficult game. Personally, I found the normal difficulty to be absolutely unplayable. I'm not sure if things have been balanced since launch, but that was my experience. That's why I played the game on easy. Beyond that, Toziuha Knight is an excellent throwback to DS-era Castlevanias. The game's surprisingly big with tons of abilitiesing, so you'll be running back and forth in order to progress. And its path to the true ending is very convoluted, but I like it that way. The game's unique element is probably its alloy system where you attach an element to your regular attack. It's cool, but I wish you could toggle it because it eats through your mana pretty quick. My biggest criticism besides the redonkulous difficulty is how the game locks the fast travel system behind a tough boss. That was just kind of a jerk move, especially so early in the game. And of course, being able to toggle the alloy attacks would be nice.
S tier.
Biomorph. In the fallen city of Blightmoor, a hero discovers the power to become the creatures they defeat. Their journey through a sprawling civilization uncovers hidden origins, eccentric allies, and the dark truth behind a world in decay. Biomorph is an excellent MV with such an incredibly open world, and it has so many side quests that take full advantage of that openness. One of the things I remember distinctly during my time with Biomorph is how I was always completing side quests and rushing back to quest givers to get my reward. If you're okay with ADD exploration and running all over the place, Biomorph might be the game for you. Biomorph's unique hook is its shifting gimmick. Basically, you can morph into enemies you've killed, and if you kill enough of a certain type of enemy, you can then morph into that enemy whenever you want, not just when you kill it. This opens up a lot of cool ability gates throughout the game. I know Kirby does this too in Amazing Mirror, but Biomorph does it so much better. My biggest criticism is the fast travel. It's convoluted and weird. You have to upgrade the fast travel system by giving an NPC something, and then you have to upgrade each travel point to be travelable. It can just be tedious. Ender Lilies, Quietus of the Nights. In a kingdom drowned by a deadly rain, a young priestess named Lily awakens alone. Her journey through cursed lands and fallen guardians uncovers sorrow, salvation, and the fragile hope of ending the blight. My personal favorite Metroidvania. It's challenging, fun, fascinating, and its story resonates with me down to the core. And its music. I just absolutely love everything about Ender Lilies and replay it on a regular basis. Ender Lilies' unique element is its spirit system. Mechanically, it's like equipping different actions to different buttons, not unlike Ori and the Will of the Wisps. But narratively, it's incredible. Watching these spirits manifest and help Lily is really neat. My criticism for Ender Lilies is that enemies and bosses just hit way too hard. Muriel has attacks that take 3/4 of your life, and considering she's a late game boss, that's a lot of HP. I can see a lot of players getting frustrated with crap like this. Also, the Verboten Domain. No matter how many times I play this game, I still hate that biome. Ender Magnolia, Bloom in the Mist. In a land consumed by a deadly miasma, a young girl awakens with the power to purify the corrupted. Her journey through the different stratums uncovers forgotten truths, fragile bonds, and the hope of renewal. An excellent follow-up to my favorite Metroidvania. It improved everything mechanically, but I still prefer Ender Lily's narrative, atmosphere, and tone. Combat's much better with spirits having cooldowns instead of finite uses. And the platforming is really goofy this time around with all the stuff you can pull off thanks to Spirit's hang time. This existed in Ender Lilies too, but it's done to an almost comical degree in Magnolia. It's tough to call out a unique element Magnolia brought when it really just took everything its predecessor did and made it better. But yeah, the Spirit system is back and made better with cooldowns. For my criticism, it's going to be similar to Ender Lilies in that enemies hit so freaking hard it's kind of ridiculous. I also found Magnolia's story to be less cohesive and complete when compared to Lilies. Like it just drops certain plot points or doesn't flesh out certain characters. I guess overall the story is a bit weaker than Lilies. 9 Souls. In the realm of New Kunlun, a forgotten hero named Yi awakens to a world ruled by ancient alien gods. His vengeful quest to slay the 9 souls uncovers hidden truths, shattered faith, and the fate of mankind. I typically hate games that rely on parrying, but 9 Souls does it so well. I love fighting the bosses in this game, even though some of the encounters took me several attempts to finally overcome. And the game's characters and story are so freaking good, and the sound when you make a perfect parry is straight dopamine. As far as unique elements go, I'd say it's the internal bleeding system. This system is what makes the game's parry work for me. If you don't get the timing right, you'll parry and not get tossed, but you'll still take damage. But that damage can be recovered over time. It's a cool risk-reward system that doesn't feel so punishing. My biggest criticism for 9 Souls is probably its fast travel. To travel anywhere, you first have to return to the hub, which is tedious, but I get why they do it. Many of the game's optional interactions that are necessary for the game's true ending happen at the hub, so forcing players to return to the hub frequently allows more options for players to see these interactions. It's still tedious though. Blasphemous II. The penitent one awakens in a strange new land, drawn once more into the endless struggle against the miracle. His pilgrimage through grotesque landscapes and monstrous foes seeks to break the cycle of suffering and uncover long-forgotten secrets. I love Blasphemous II, but it took everything great about the original and kind of watered it down, and I'm not just talking about the hand-drawn cutscenes. No longer is Blasphemous an avant-garde MV that shirks traditional formats and frameworks to give us something truly compelling. Now it has traditional movement upgrades and plays like any other traditional MV. A tragedy for some, but it appears most people prefer the game feeling more basic. Regardless, the addition of 3 weapon types is very welcomed. I really can't think of anything new Blasphemous II brought to the genre. The closest I can think of is how the game opens. Choose a weapon, and that weapon's ability can open different paths to you earlier than other weapons. That's kinda cool, so I'll give it that. My biggest criticism is gonna sound strange, but I hate the game's setup. They introduce all these new bosses like it were an anime or something. Like, this is Fairy Tail and they're talking about a new guild and all of its members Natsu and the gang have to face. It's kinda corny and clashes with the game's more somber and macabre tone. Death's Gambit Afterlife. A servant of death is sent to challenge immortality within the fallen kingdom of Cyrodion. His journey through haunted lands and towering foes uncovers secrets of life, death, and the price of eternal power. I have a lot of respect for Death Gambit Afterlife's dev, White Rabbit. They released Death's Gambit as a kind of lackluster 2D Dark Souls clone that really missed the mark and didn't have that great of a story or ending. But after community feedback, they returned to the drawing board and released the Afterlife expansion 3 years later, adding a ton of new bosses, biomes, weapons, and some more endings. But the biggest change was turning the game into a full-fledged Metroidvania with ability gating. This expansion turned a mediocre Dark Souls clone into one of the best Soulsvanias out there. Death's Gambit Afterlife really isn't all that unique of an experience, at least mechanically. Most of what it does had already been done in the space. Though it's an early take on the Soulsvania genre, Sultan Sanctuary hit the market a couple years prior. What really sets Death's Gambit Afterlife apart beyond successfully marrying the Metroidvania and Souls-like formulas is its narrative. And I'm just gonna have to leave it at that. DGA does so many cool things in its plot that it's tough not to get invested, especially if you get into the ARG side of things or chase down the true ending with the whole willpower stat. My biggest criticism for DGA is its ending. It kinda goes on too long with the final sequence and it just doesn't feel good. It's tough to explain. It just feels tacked on and weird. They try to remedy this in their paid DLC that closes the loop on some things and leaves on a cliffhanger, but even then it doesn't feel like that great of a send-off. Here's hoping a sequel actually gets made. Hey, Future Luke here. I thought about the ending some more while editing this and it finally came to me. The game's final conflict has a very anime-esque ending. Think Goku gathering energy for the Spirit Bomb. It's very epic and awesome. But then there's another sequence afterwards. This is the part that feels tacked on. It completely knocks the wind out of the previous scene. That's why I hate the last bit of this game's ending. Alright, carry on. Blasphemous. In the cursed land of Custodia, a silent warrior known as the Penitent One rises from death. His pilgrimage through twisted faith and relentless suffering seeks redemption, vengeance, and the end of eternal damnation. Blasphemous's art direction, presentation, macabre subject matter, and narrative delivery make this game the stuff of legends. I've never seen a game with so much disgusting imagery in my life, and I've never seen that disgusting imagery presented so artfully. Blasphemous is a game that sticks with you, that's for dang sure. And its tough combat perfectly complements the world's brutality. As for the game's unique element, you may have heard me say this before, that Blasphemous is a secret Metroidvania. And because of this secrecy, that's why you'll hear people say it's not actually an MV, but it very much is, just not a traditional one. Add on the fact that many of the things that make Blasphemous an MV were added as DLC, I can definitely see how people who only played the game at launch have a tough time seeing it as a Metroidvania. But that's the brilliance of Blasphemous. If you only follow the game's critical path, it isn't an MV. But if you truly explore, you'll find abilities, hidden paths and biomes, and an alternate route to unlock the truth behind everything happening in this world. Blasphemous' true ending path might be the best in all of Metroidvanias. The game's biggest criticism is definitely its lack of traversal upgrades. Penitente feels and moves the same in the end as he does in the beginning, and that's kind of a bummer. And then if you want to use the different relics to manipulate the world, you have to go into a menu and equip them, which is kind of tedious. Chronicles of the Wolf. Matteo Lombardo, the last apprentice of the Rose-Cross Order, hunts the legendary beast of Gévaudan. His pursuit through perilous forests and a haunted castle uncovers dark secrets, brutal foes, and the fate of a cursed land. Chronicles of the Wolf is a fully realized Simon's Quest and a better realized Order of Ecclesia in terms of structure. In Ecclesia, you have all these sequestered areas you have to go through before Castlevania appears. Then you play a good portion of the game there. In Chronicles, the areas before the castle portion are actually interconnected with cool investigation sequences and puzzles. And then the castle portion is enormous with so many mind-blowing sequences. Seriously, the entirety of Chronicles' second act inside the castle is Metroidvania bliss, with all its back and forth to gradually open it up. And figuring out how to open it up is so much fun. Chronicles of the Wolf does a lot of things other MVs have already done, but it executes those things at such a high level. But if I had to choose its most unique element, it'd probably be its puzzles. Puzzles aren't new to MVs, but the amount, variety, and complexity of some of these puzzles are on another level. Being great at combat, platforming, and exploration is just not enough in Chronicles. You also have to be observant and clever, so I highly recommend not using a guide to get the full experience. Chronicles' biggest criticism has got to be its absolute adherence to its retro sensibilities. The stiff controls, going into menus to change weapons, no autosaving. If you didn't grow up playing NES and SNES games, Chronicles' retro philosophies and methods might not jive with you. Castlevania, Aria of Sorrow. In a future where Dracula's castle reappears, a young man named Soma Cruz discovers strange powers tied to its dark legacy. Easily my favorite Castlevania. I love the pixel work, the music, and the narrative. Castlevania games aren't really known for their stories, but Aria's plot was intriguing with a couple of really cool twists. As for the unique element, it's the tactical soul system. It's just so awesome. Igavanias are so fun because every enemy is like a slot machine, with every defeat potentially being a new weapon or a piece of armor or something. The tactical soul system brings things to the next level by having enemies drop their souls that can be buffs or attacks, drastically altering gameplay. It's great stuff. My biggest criticism for this game is the drop rates. For such an amazing mechanic, it sure can frustrate the crap out of you. Afterimage. In the ruined world of Engarden, a young amnesiac named Renee sets out to recover her memories and find her lost mentor. Afterimage is one of my favorite MVs of all time. It's beautiful, it's gigantic, it has a flying companion. I really can't praise this game enough. I love its combat, its multiple weapons, its platforming, its exploration, its world, and its world's non-linearity. And I love how opening its world is so ambiguous, like how you need a specific glyph to unlock the path to the bird that takes you to that burning village, or how you need to defeat a boss to get a feather that protects you from another boss's extreme heat, or all the stuff you have to do and get so you can enter a specific soul field. There is so much you can do and discover in Afterimage. It really is a Metroidvania fan's Metroidvania. I'd say Afterimage's unique element is all its endings. This is kind of spoilery, so skip ahead, but I'll try to make it short. Basically, there are 10 endings. A silly ending, a true ending, and then some ending sets. The 3 Sunken Sanctum endings, the 3 Field of Pyro endings, and the 2 New Game Plus endings. Quick aside, the New Game Plus in Afterimage is actually a short alternate game with a completely different character. Anyway, to get the true ending, you must complete a specific Sunken Sanctum ending and a specific Field of Pyro ending to unlock the New Game Plus, which is an extra campaign. Then, get a specific New Game Plus ending to unlock a brand new biome in the base game. Relaunch your base game file to visit this new biome and get the new ending. It's convoluted, but it's so much fun to figure it out. I don't think there are any other MVs who use endings to unlock progress quite like Afterimage. Now, Afterimage is one of my favorite MVs of all time, but I'm not blind to its many flaws. Its leveling and skill tree system is pretty lame with how it locks upgrades to every 5th level. Needing items to fast travel is trash, though it was way worse at launch, making the item incredibly rare. And its story, though great, is too convoluted and delivered poorly, thanks in part to the game's size and openness, ensuring that story beats are spread way too far apart. Hollow Knight. Beneath the fading town of Dirtmouth lies Hallownest, a vast, ruined kingdom teeming with secrets. What can I say? It's Hollow Knight, the most famous and best-selling Metroidvania of all time. The Metroidvania that inspired so many modern Metroidvanias that set us in the golden age of Metroidvanias we're currently living in. Of course, Ori and the Blind Forest is the MV that opened the door for the MV Golden Age, but Hollow Knight blew that door off its hinges. It's actually tough to say what single thing is Hollow Knight's unique element because it borrowed from so many different sources and influenced so many games that came after. There's the charm system that came from Paper Mario and Rabby Ribby. There's the cryptic archaeological storytelling that came from Dark Souls. Same with the shades/corpse running gimmick. I guess the soul system is Hollow Knight's true claim to fame. Using a resource for healing and offensive spells that can be recharged by attacking is really cool. All in all, Hollow Knight really is bigger than the sum of its parts. It has all this borrowed stuff, but brings it all together with an excellent story and stellar art direction. And its simplistic and rhythmic boss fights pull a lot of weight as well. And we can't forget about its amazing exploration and incredible map. Hollow Knight really just took a bunch of cliches and did it better with prettier presentation and set it all to a killer narrative. My biggest criticism for Hollow Knight is its opening. It is just so dull. I've said it a million times, but I originally dropped this game 3 times before actually getting into it. And then I tried to play it again a few months ago and got bored and dropped it again. I don't know what it is about Hollow Knight's opening, but it is the cure for insomnia for me. I know the game's great, I've completed it a couple of times, but starting the dang thing feels like a chore. I think it's because it no longer has that magic for me, because I know the narrative like the back of my hand, and I know the game's like 20 hours long. Hollow Knight just doesn't have the progression system necessary to keep my attention for that long. Obviously, that's a personal take, but if Hollow Knight had multiple weapons and leveling and skill trees and whatnot, I could justify its 20-hour playthrough. But as it stands, replays just don't hook me like they did when Hollow Nest was brand new. If there was ever a game I'd like wiped from my memory so I could play it again for the first time, Hollow Knight would be a strong candidate.